1. The Great Galveston Hurricane of 1900. Imagine a thriving, bustling city, one of the wealthiest in the United States at the turn of the 20th century, nearly wiped off the map in a single day. That's the tragic story of Galveston, Texas. On September 8, 1900, a monstrous hurricane, what we'd now call a Category 4 storm, slammed into the island city with winds roaring over 145 miles per hour. Back then, weather forecasting was in its infancy. The U.S. Weather Bureau had tragically underestimated the storm's true power and path, leaving a city of nearly 40,000 people dangerously exposed. A massive storm surge, a terrifying wall of water over 15 feet high, swept over the entire island. Homes, businesses, entire city blocks simply vanished. The storm reduced a symbol of American prosperity to a wasteland of debris. The human cost was devastating, with estimates of 6,000 to 12,000 lives lost, marking it as the deadliest natural disaster in U.S. history. The Galveston hurricane is a haunting story of nature's immense power, but also one of incredible resilience that would forever change how coastal cities prepare for the worst. 2. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake. In the pre-dawn hours of April 18, 1906, the vibrant city of San Francisco was rocked from its sleep. A powerful earthquake, now estimated at a magnitude of 7.9, ripped along the San Andreas Fault for nearly 300 miles. The initial tremor, lasting less than a minute, caused catastrophic damage, toppling buildings and tearing streets apart. But the terror was far from over. The quake had ruptured gas lines across the city, and fires quickly ignited. These small fires merged into massive infernos that raged for 3 days, becoming far more destructive than the earthquake itself. Firefighters were helpless as broken water mains left them with no way to fight the flames. By the time the disaster was over, more than 80% of the city had been destroyed, and over 3,000 people had lost their lives. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake and the subsequent fires remain one of the worst natural disasters in American history, a stark reminder of the Earth's power. Yet from the ashes, a new city would rise, a testament to the unyielding spirit of its people. 3. The 1936 Tupelo-Gainesville tornado outbreak. In the spring of 1936, a devastating series of tornadoes tore through the southeastern United States, leaving a trail of unimaginable destruction. The outbreak is most remembered for two particularly monstrous twisters that struck just one day apart. On the evening of April 5, a massive tornado, an F5 on the Fujita scale, descended upon Tupelo, Mississippi. It carved a path of total devastation through the city's residential areas, destroying hundreds of homes in an instant. Among the survivors was a 1-year-old toddler named Elvis Presley, who was with his mother in their small home. The very next morning, the horror continued. A separate, equally violent tornado system struck Gainesville, Georgia. This event was unique and terrifying as two large tornadoes converged on the downtown area, creating a whirlwind of chaos and destruction. Buildings collapsed, fires broke out, and the city's commercial heart was left in ruins. Together, the Tupelo and Gainesville tornadoes claimed over 450 lives, making the 1936 outbreak one of the deadliest in the nation's history and a grim chapter in the story of America's Tornado Alley. 4. The Great Blizzard of 1888. March 1888 began with unseasonably mild weather along the east coast of the United States. People in cities from the Chesapeake Bay to New England shed their heavy winter coats, believing spring had arrived early. They had no idea they were about to be caught in one of the most ferocious blizzards in American history. Overnight on March 12, the temperature plummeted, and a light rain turned into a blinding, raging snowstorm. For 2 days, the Great White Hurricane buried the eastern seaboard. It wasn't just the snow, which fell at a rate of several inches per hour, piling up to 50 feet in massive drifts. It was the ferocious, hurricane-force winds that created zero-visibility whiteouts. Major cities like New York City were completely paralyzed. Trains were stranded, communication lines were severed, and people were trapped in their homes for days. The blizzard claimed more than 400 lives, many freezing just steps from their front doors. It was a terrifying lesson that forced cities to rethink their infrastructure, leading to the creation of underground subways and communication lines. 5. Hurricane Katrina, 2005. In August of 2005, the world watched as one of the most powerful and destructive hurricanes ever recorded in the Atlantic Ocean took aim at the U.S. Gulf Coast. Hurricane Katrina was a monster, a Category 5 storm at its peak that would ultimately make landfall as a Category 3. But for the city of New Orleans, the wind was only the beginning of the nightmare. The city, much of which sits below sea level, was protected by a complex system of levees and flood walls. As Katrina's massive storm surge slammed into the coast, this critical flood protection system failed catastrophically. Water poured through the breaches, and in a matter of hours, 80% of New Orleans was underwater. Tens of thousands who had been unable to evacuate were trapped, leading to a humanitarian crisis that shocked the nation. The storm claimed over 1,800 lives and caused more than $125 billion in damages, making it the costliest natural disaster in U.S. history. Katrina wasn't just a weather event. It was a tragedy that exposed deep vulnerabilities and left a scar on the American spirit. 6. The 2011 Joplin Tornado. On a Sunday afternoon, May 22, 2011, the city of Joplin, Missouri, found itself in the path of a terrifying force of nature. A massive and exceptionally powerful tornado, later rated as an EF5, the highest possible rating, touched down on the western edge of the city and began its rampage. What made this tornado so devastating was its sheer size, over a mile wide at its peak, and its slow, grinding path directly through the heart of a densely populated area. The twister stayed on the ground for 38 minutes, traveling over 22 miles, but its most intense destruction occurred over a 6-mile path through Joplin. It ripped through neighborhoods, schools, and businesses, leaving behind a scene of almost unbelievable devastation. St. John's Regional Medical Center, a massive concrete and steel building, was ravaged beyond repair. The Joplin tornado was a stark reminder of modern vulnerability to nature's power. It claimed 158 lives, injured over 1,100 people, and caused nearly $3 billion in damages, making it the costliest single tornado in U.S. history and one of the deadliest.